Okay, when I was a kid, I was just young and naive. I wore my heart on my sleeve. I thought that.
All right. Hey, well, welcome back to another episode of Social Media Revivalists. Today, I am so stoked. As we always hear real stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things for God online. Today, we have a friend of mine, Jason Camacho, who we met during quarantine as well. Similar to maybe a lot of social media people, but Jason has a heart for Jesus. He's passionate about God, passionate about communicating the gospel in a relevant way to young people. And I'm so excited. Jason, you have so much to share, man. Thank you for being on, and thank you for giving us the time, man.
Dude, thanks for having me, really. This is going to be fun.
No,
this is going to be good.
Good. Well, Jason, I know people are listening. They maybe know you, they maybe don't know you as much, but would love to hear maybe a little bit of your story and who you are, and then also give us some backstory of how you got involved in social media, in the social media world, specifically with sharing your faith to the internet and people around the internet.
Dude, that's a big story. Let's narrow it down then. You know, I grew up in a Christian home, typical. Didn't really come to Christ till I was 21, 22, in a real, genuine way. And so God got a hold of my heart, just really awakened me, showed me that I wasn't who I thought I was. I was walking around with a fake faith, genuinely didn't know Christ, didn't know the gospel. And thank God that he awakened me and showed me the true gospel and showed me his grace and his love. And I've never been the same, absolutely different. And so naturally, as a disciple of Jesus, you just want to go out and make more disciples. And so I've been a youth pastor for 5 years, and I love youth pastoring. But I know that these kids hang out on social media all day, every day. It's ridiculous. They just sit there. They'll just absorb hours of content mindlessly without even thinking about what they're absorbing. So I thought, I know there's a lot of Christian content creators, but I think God's gifted me to preach his word in a way that's actually relatable to kids. Whether you're junior high, high school, college, I think they resonate well with just the way God's designed me to deliver his word. And so I hopped on YouTube because I thought it's going to be legit. So many people are going to watch my videos. I made 3 videos out of I just want to do the basics of Christianity, just how to read the Bible, how to know you're saved, what is the gospel. I did that. I think I got 3 views on each video, gave up, just walked away. I was done. It's dumb. God is not with me. A year later, I heard about TikTok, and to be honest, man, I was kids in my youth group were just talking about TikTok every day, and I was done. I was like, what is this TikTok? They're always showing me TikToks, and this is lame, to be honest. But then God got a hold of me, and he said, no, I can use this for my glory. Wow. And so hopped on TikTok, and, just about a year ago or so, and I did something very simple. All I did was present the gospel, because I thought, I'm sure someone's going to see this. And what do you know? 50 people watched. And I thought, that's a lot of people. That's a ton of people. But you watch TikTok videos, they're getting 1, 2, 3 million views in 2 hours. You're like, I want that. And so I just wanted to really voice what I think a lot of students and the younger generation is thinking and not able to articulate or even get answers for. And so I would just, one of the greatest videos I did, I think the greatest content, but also the greatest reach, was just why Jesus is God in the flesh. And I did hashtag Muslim, hashtag Jehovah's Witness, hashtag Mormon, and I never looked back. And so many people watched that video. That was my first engagement with real, angry, just cyberbullies, man. They hurt me. And so I had to navigate that. But that's how I got started, is I just thought, social media can be a weapon in the hand of God, or it can be a tool of destruction in the hand of the enemy. And so I know that my kids are on that. I'm going to get on there and just be available. I want to be available to them and whoever else watches. And so I think just from that, something else was birthed, which was obviously a ton of videos that came after that I didn't really plan on making. I really didn't think I'd stick around that long, but I was there for a few months. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. And so, for people who are tuning in, Jason's got almost 170,000 people following his TikTok page, and hundreds and hundreds of videos with thousands and tens of thousands of comments and questions, and it's been really cool. I followed Jason right when I hopped on TikTok, and I just saw what he was doing. I was like, this dude's just going straight for the word. Like, you open the Bible, you find a passage and you explain it, and people are asking questions and you're answering questions, and it's so cool. It was so cool for me to watch you do that and to watch people gravitate towards what you were doing. And I guess, one question that I have in terms of the content that you were creating in the format, I guess, that you were doing, do you have a thought of like, why did people choose to follow and to listen to you and to the things that you were saying compared to maybe like other creators?
Yeah, I think insecurity plagued my mind every video. I think straight up minimizing what God could do through my gifts was always a challenge with every video. It was always super insecure to just show up on. That's the funny thing about TikTok is, I did 3 YouTube videos. Weirdly enough, I don't share this with a lot of people, but I started to gain traction on Vine, when it was big, and then it shut down, and I thought, dang. But that was more humorous before I really knew Christ. And I thought, with this, I want to be different. And so I'd had, somewhat of a little bit of experience getting my face on camera. TikTok was a little different because you see the floods of comments that just jab at exactly what it is you're insecure about. And so with every video, I was questioning, like, not only who's going to watch this, will anyone watch this? And if they do, like, why would they? Like, if I do get people, what would keep them sticking around? Because honestly, I didn't think the content at all was appealing to people, to be very honest, because the gospel isn't appealing to a lot of people. But I didn't care. I think through that, I learned that people were attracted to the videos because it was content that wasn't shallow. I think it was just transparent enough and real enough and somewhat hard enough for them to actually want more. It challenged their faith. It challenged, if they were atheists, it challenged their lack of faith. If they were, Mormon, Jehovah's Witnesses, it challenged whatever false belief system they had. And that's kind of why I was on there. I think I wanted to challenge your standard Christianity, your standard atheistic worldview. I wanted to be a little different. There were a lot of TikTokers just sharing a Bible verse here and there, and I thought, that's cool. And that was also one of the greatest thoughts I had to fight, was to do what would get the most views. For a while there, what determined the content was how many people can I get to watch this, and what would be most attractive, what most appealing. And I had to fight that and go, no, I think I want to do what honors God most. So I'd break open the book of Ephesians. I'd go verse by verse, like literally one verse every video. That's why you said hundreds of videos. Literally, I have hundreds of videos. Probably just on the Bible. And so I noticed that people liked that. They just liked having the Bible explained. They also liked kind of those challenging questions where it was like, why do you think you're saved? Like, genuinely, just coming out swinging the first 2 seconds of the video. Why do you think you're a Christian? Like, to make them go, dang. I just got on TikTok, to get my little hit today, and I just got jabbed in the soul. And so hopefully, I think that's why people resonated with it, was that it was, you'd go from like kids jumping off buildings, half naked women, kids doing crazy stuff, to like a kid right off the bat going, do you really know Christ? And it would stop, I think it would stop a lot of people dead in their tracks. It would stop their scroll, whatever you call it, their scroll hunger, and it would just dead in their tracks. I think they'd listen because I was so in their face all at once. But in a loving way, of course, like just presenting it like, do you know what you believe? Or why are you an atheist? I'm an atheist because, whoa, let's think about this. And so you get angry comments, you get good comments. Either way, I think it was relatable because it was deep enough to challenge the questions and the concerns most people aren't willing to voice. Either because they're lazy, apathetic, or just straight up concerned that their belief system might not be true. And so that's why I was on there. And I think that's what people liked. It was, this guy doesn't play around. He's not cutting any corners. He's not beating around the bush. If anything, he's doing some cool stuff, and so I think that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I totally agree. And honestly, like when I would watch, my scroll would stop when I would see, pop in my face, Jason coming out and saying, "Hey," and ask these hard questions, and but really give, like also giving real, as much as you can fit into a 30-second, 40-second video, like real provoking thoughts to say, okay, what is the answer to this question? And sometimes I would close TikTok and I'd be like, okay, let me think about this for a little bit, because there's a lot there. Now, you and I just chatted over the phone a few days ago, and you were telling me obviously TikTok is limited because it's a short form video platform, and we're kind of, there's a lot to say with the gospel. And so sometimes you make videos on TikTok but people don't really see them consecutively. So they might see Ephesians 1:1 explained, and then the next thing they see is something completely unrelated. And so they might not get as much of that Bible study or whatever it is that we're doing. And so you recently moved back to YouTube. So can you just talk a little bit about that and why you did that, and what that, how that's impacted your ministry online?
Yeah, I think that transition was the greatest thing for me. Of course, TikTok, you get like almost 200,000 people following you. Then you go to YouTube, you have like 500 subscribers. It can be super discouraging, super daunting, intimidating. You just want to stop. But at the same time, I knew the value in YouTube, for me at least, personally, and for the way God's wired me. The value there was just greater on YouTube because I could build a long-term relationship with people. I could like bring them through things and like have a long-term impact on their faith. Whereas, half the people following me on TikTok, I was just one among literally millions of people they were following. Like, that's insane. I just like, check up on people. Hey, why'd this guy follow me? Dang, you're following 9,800. Like, so I was one of like the thousands of videos that were coming across just their following feed. And so I thought, like, I can't build a relationship. I think my primary reason for transitioning was discipleship. Like, I want to build disciples, not like just throw out a ton of information and hope it lands on someone for a day. And I was doing that, man. I was pumping out like 10 videos a day, and I knew they were reaching like thousands of people. But how many of those people were watching all of them and getting like the full scope of what it was that I'm teaching instead of bits and pieces? It's cool, but I know YouTube, like, there's just a greater opportunity there to really disciple lots of people and to bring them through whatever it is they're dealing with in a very, permanent way, instead of getting their daily hit of the Bible, which is, I think, what a lot of people treated TikTok as. If you were going to be on TikTok for Christian creators, you would jump on just to get your daily dose and then shut it down and go straight to like the other mindless videos. You'd be like, got my Bible verse, okay, I'm good for the day. And I didn't want to be that. And so I put together like an entire like fundamentals Christians basics curriculum on YouTube, which is what I've always wanted. And I'm really proud of what God has done with that. Are there as many eyes on the content? No. But I think there will be infinitely more fruit than there were followers on TikTok. So I think the fruit of YouTube is greater than the followers on TikTok, in my opinion. I would choose fruit over the number of people who get to see my content. And so I think over time with this YouTube thing, if people actually follow the curriculum all the way through, and there's like 30 plus videos, and there's like different phases, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, what's the gospel, how do I know I'm saved, why read the Bible, how do I read the Bible, how do I develop my own Bible reading plan, like all these basic things, how do I pray? I think once someone goes through that, they'll be way more equipped than even like 100,000 people on TikTok who saw a few of my Ephesians videos. And so, I'll take the one disciple that will follow Jesus passionately over, 100,000 people that just like the content you bring because it makes them feel good. And so you can feel good and then do something, in response to it. But what I'm saying is, I think YouTube is just this different animal. It's harder, for sure, but I think it's more rewarding. And so I had to make that change, because you got people asking questions on TikTok that I can't answer in a minute, man. Like, they're like, prove your faith is real. Man, I'm going to YouTube. And so I think that's what started is, people were hitting me up on Instagram like this was my greatest mistake, but also my greatest reward, is that I went on TikTok, I did a Q&A, I did like a live kind of TikTok thing, and people loved it. You had kids from like the age of 8 watching up to the age of adults in the age of their 40s. And so you had a huge range of people on those Q&As that I was doing, these Bible studies, and they were asking some solid questions, man.
Wow.
And then I'd say, look, I don't have time to answer all these. I would love to. Hit me up on Instagram. My DMs were just exploding. And I could do nothing. I was so overwhelmed, man. So then I thought, all of these people, like I get 15 DMs a day, 10 of them are asking the same question. So rather than just, give each person an audio message and repeat myself 10 times, I started to make videos on YouTube called 1 minute answers or 2 minute answers, which was 1 extra minute than TikTok gave. And so 2 minute answers where I'd just give an answer to what the most common questions I was getting on Instagram and TikTok. And so I think that's how it started. I thought, I'm hitting a lot more, birds with this stone. I'm going to stick here and I'm going to stay here so I can point people to the content on YouTube. So weirdly enough, I started to use TikTok as an avenue to get people to YouTube. Not even just for subscribers, but to be like, you have a question, I've answered that on YouTube. You're struggling with this addiction, I've dealt with that on YouTube in a deeper way. So I think a lot of people that are on my YouTube channel right now, weirdly enough, came from TikTok. Because they're like, I want more than just these daily verses. Explain to me why I believe what I believe. Explain to me why Ephesians is framed out the way it is, stuff like that. So that's a long answer, but YouTube, I think, for me, was just more profitable.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that line that you just said. I'd rather have the fruit than the followers. I think that like somebody tweet that out, I'd rather have the fruit than the followers, right? It's just such a, like, first of all, it shows your heart. It shows that the reason that you're in this, it's not for yourself. It's not for the clout. It's not for anything like that. It's for the glory of God. And you want to see people become disciple, and you want to see people grow in their faith and reach more disciples with their faith. And so I love that you're doing that, and I honor that, and I think that that's something that's not always found in the world, and honestly, like even in the Christian TikTok world, like I'm sure everybody, like, their goal is, yes, I want to honor God, but sometimes that there's always, I'm sure there's always a struggle, and we even hear it in some of your story. It's like, oh, what about the followers, and should I make content that people just want to absorb? But it's so cool to hear your heart in this of like, I just want people to be saved, to grow in their faith. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's powerful. Yeah, and I think hopefully whoever's listening to this, like, they hear that as well, and they see that God can use the small things, and don't despise the small beginnings, even if it's 5 or 500 YouTube subscribers. God can use that in incredible ways. So I love that, man. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so now you've been on this journey for I don't know, like how long ago did you start the first like YouTube video when you first started with this? Oh, really? Oh, okay, so it's all in this past year. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us, obviously, like through YouTube and TikTok and back to YouTube, it's been a journey of sharing your faith on social media. What have been kind of like the highs and the lows of this journey of sharing your faith and letting God use you in this capacity?
Dude, there's so many highs and probably just as many lows. I wrote down a few highs. Let me get them out for you. I think this will be helpful. Just the way I wrote it down will be helpful explaining.
Great.
I think that when it comes to TikTok, the highlights were that people were being impacted clearly. At least on a surface level, I could tell. Like, people were saying, my life's being changed. Like, I know Jesus better now. Like, they were telling me these things. Now, I can't tell you the fruit of their life, but all I can say is what they were telling me was very encouraging. And so the highlights of TikTok was, there was no community for sure, but there was a lot of influence in terms of pointing people to Christ. And I think I had people in all walks of life, atheist, Gnostic, Buddhist, Muslim, straight up Jewish people, Christians, all these different spheres of life. And they were all pretty much saying the same thing as, your videos have changed my life. And that's what kept me going. Was the highlight was never how are my numbers doing. The highlight was always, God, like, number one, are you being honored? And number two, is there actual fruit eternally going to be born from this? And I think it was pretty evident to see that, you know, just from the way these people were contacting me on Instagram, every day it was a highlight to see who was impacted, how they were impacted, what they were changing. Like, to follow up with different people, that was cool. To follow up with someone in Tanzania or someone in like Egypt and being like, how are you doing? That was exciting for me to actually know that, like, God was doing something through me that was impacting an entire community potentially in another complete continent. And so the highlight was having that kind of influence and knowing that Christ was being exalted through that was what helped me go to sleep at night, knowing that that wasn't in vain. You know, some of the greatest, I wouldn't say problems, but the lows of it were that it was a lot of work to put the content together that I did. There was a lot of studying involved. There was lots of assembling, lots of praying, lots of, you know, re-recording stuff and being like, dang, I was 59 seconds in, and I messed up at the last second, or dang, I went 3 seconds over, I got to redo that. I mean, I scripted some things. I tried just freeballing a few. And after doing that and not seeing as big of a return as I was hoping for, like, I was thinking, God, I think you're going to impact millions of people, like 1 million people, 2 million followers. You know, I had big expectations because, like, if God's going to call me to do something, I'm not going to limit him to what, you know, my ability. I'm not going to limit him to what I'm capable of doing. I'm always going to believe for the impossible. And so I went on that platform believing, like, I think you're going to reach millions of people. And he potentially did. But to see, like, other creators, I think, doing fantastically and just graced in a different way than I was and getting more traction than I was. And it seemed like their content wasn't as, like, thought out and prayed over. It was just like, let's just throw out a prayer, which is cool and all. It was just discouraging to me because I thought, like, God, can I be doing something easier that gets more results? And I had to wrestle with that a lot. Insecurity, jealousy, coveting, like what people like literally lusting after the followers and the influence and the fame other Christian creators were having. That was something every day I had to constantly check myself. Because if I didn't, and that thing grew, and I didn't tend to that covetous desire, man, it would leak into the videos I was creating. And so no longer was it what honors God that was framing my content. It was what will get my name out there that was framing my content. And so just to wrestle through a lot of that, straight up, that journey in life exposed my heart. A lot of garbage in my heart that I knew was there, but not on the level that it was. And so I had to, I mean, even just to be blatantly honest, like, to be on TikTok and to come, you can't control the content that's coming through your feed. So it can be like an old lady smashing her head against a fridge, and the next video, you know, it's like this half-naked woman. And so I think for me, there were just a lot of opportunities for lust. I think a lot of opportunities to do things that lead to sin that weren't necessarily sinful, but and then to wrestle through that at night, kind of when I'm sitting in bed and going, Lord, is it worth it to put myself in all of these situations where I'm tempted so much? Because being a creator, you want to know the platform. Being a creator, you want to know what makes people tick. You want to know what grabs people's attention, so you watch other content, and then that content is never filtered. And so it just goes into your brain. You're sitting up at night going, I know you work through me, but was it worth it to be in that place of temptation like most of the day? And for me, I had to pull away and go, it's not. As much as I love being on there, and as much as I think God could have grown the audience, I just felt like my soul is negatively impacted by, in the name of social media, in the name of influence and advancing the kingdom of Christ, my soul is being negatively impacted. And so, of course, you can put up barriers and you can protect yourself, but I would rather not put myself in situations where temptation is more likely. I'd rather, be wise, take a step back and ask, Lord, is there another way to do this? And I think YouTube YouTube was that, where the content's more filtered for me. But the highlights really were seeing people grow, like tracking their growth on Instagram and being able to DM them and see how they're doing and pray for them. Like really talk to this kid who's like, my grandma died, or talk to this adult that's like, I'm getting a divorce. And it's like, you're reaching out to me. Like of all the people in the world, you're reaching out to me, and to take so seriously those opportunities and not just to see each face as another number, that was super rewarding. There were temptations, man, to just see every person as a number. And I'll be honest, I did that a lot. I literally, like, I would take away the username and just insert a number and go, you're just one among 194,000, whatever it ended up being. And again, there's just so many ways in which God revealed my heart. And I thought, I'm so thankful you brought me through this to show me what needs to change if you're going to use me in greater ways in the future. I'm thankful that I didn't reach millions of people because my heart just wasn't ready. I would have loved the approval, the applause. I would have loved the fame. I would have loved the popularity. I would have told you it's for Christ. But I started to see myself slip in a direction that I prayed God would spare me from before I even got into TikTok. Like I anticipated my heart moving a direction because of the temptation on TikTok, whether it's lust or coveting or fame and the applause of people. I knew my heart. And so I went into it saying, guard my heart, but I let my guard down. And slowly, you know, with each and every video, reading the comments, whether you get prideful from the good ones or you get insecure and you want to just pull the covers over your head from the bad ones, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for me to just be distracted from what matters, and that is to know and love Christ, to literally just love Him. And so I think I began to idolize. That was another low. It seems like there's a lot of lows for TikTok, but there are a lot of highs. Like, I think I just want to help people understand that when you move into social media in any capacity, understand your heart before you even make a decision to get on. Because to not know your weaknesses and not know where you're tempted most leaves you vulnerable, and you'll start, you know, excusing temptation in the name of advancing God's kingdom, excusing putting yourself in situations that are compromising and, you know, make you think thoughts you shouldn't. You'll excuse those things because you'll do it in the name of God. And so I think when it comes to serving God on social media, know your heart. Otherwise, there's lots of potential for just slipping up in ways you didn't anticipate because you weren't prepared. And so...
Wow, dude, thank you for that honesty there. And it's you know, it's cool to hear how honest you were with yourself, and being willing to not let yourself, you know, not lie to yourself and say, oh, no, like this is fine. And knowing your priorities there, like maybe not everybody would go that route, and not everyone would be willing to make that sacrifice, especially with the fact that you were seeing some fruit, and especially with the fact that you were able to have people have these conversations. But, you know, I hope that, you know, there's that transfer, so that the influence that you had on TikTok would transfer over to YouTube, so that that fruit can continue to come out, maybe just on a different platform, in a way that's making just the same impact, if not more. So that's awesome, man. And you've touched on this a little bit, but is there like maybe one or two stories that stick out to you in terms of the people who you've reached, that you feel like God has used your presence on social media to impact their lives? Is there a story like that you want to share?
Yeah. Lots of suicidal people, just in general.
Wow.
Lots. And sometimes it just crippled me, and it actually paralyzed me and stopped me dead in my tracks. Because rather than make another video, I thought, someone just DM'd me on Instagram telling me they want to end their life. And I'm thinking about the next video I'm making. I think I need to shift my priorities and really just talk with this person. I don't care if it takes me away from the 10 videos I was supposed to make. And there were situations like where people would tell me straight up, I want to die, I want to end my life. And to be able to like be a resource and not be the reason they were spared from that, but be a potential reason that God used, and to be a part of their journey and seeing them come to know Christ. Like there were lots, like I said, there's lots of kids on TikTok. Kids, 7, 8. Sometimes they were like 5-year-olds who like just took their mom's phone while they're taking a nap, and they're like, "Oh, watch me do a dance." And to have conversations with these kids, whether through my Q&As on TikTok, and to see how they were being spared from what they were addicted to, or what they were scared of falling into, or the suicidal tendencies, or the self-hatred, to see them actually like gravitate away from that towards the love of Christ was super cool. And I can't think of any, it's been so long, like I stopped doing this probably May or so when I started YouTube, so the names are kind of fuzzy, but there are lots of people who I can just think of off the top of my head. I can see the messages where it was just like, I don't want to live, or how do I know I didn't commit the unforgivable sin? That was a super common question. How do I know I'm saved? I'm terrified because COVID struck. People are like, the world's going to end. God's going to reject me and condemn me to hell. I don't want that. Lots of that question. How do I know I'm the real deal? And walking people through that, and not just telling them you're okay, but showing them where potentially they might not be in Christ was super cool. Like you had kids who were like, man, I never checked my heart. I never like evaluated my life to make sure I lined up with what I was confessing. I just thought that growing up in church was enough. But you helped me realize, like, I'm not honoring God with my life. I don't have love for his people. I don't desire to obey him. Like, I don't have a conviction of sin. And all these things, I think those were the most rewarding times where you see someone reach out to you, I'm suicidal, and then through, over days, maybe weeks, potentially months, they're like, man, I love God so much. And you're like, wow, dang, like God used me. And then those other times where you got kids who are, I don't want to go to hell. And then you comfort them, showing them that they really are in Christ. And they're like, I'm on fire for the Lord now. I'm done like thinking about all the scary things. I'm moving forward in what I do know, and that is Christ died for me. To see those and stories unfold and to play a part in that was super fruitful. Man, I mean, when I think about all the Instagram DMs that I got, and this isn't to be like, look at all the Instagram DMs, it's just like, it was overwhelming to see the despair, the hopelessness, the depression, the self-hatred, the confusion, the brokenness in so many, I mean, grown adults, 30-year-olds reaching out to me, and to walk them to be an answer to their prayer. So many of them was just like, it was humbling. It left me on my knees a lot of times, just on my knees. And so there's not like any specific story. There's just a lot of the same story, which was I was broken. I love God now. I was scared I'm going to hell. Now I'm no longer focusing. Like I told these kids, I said, look, for all y'all that are terrified of going to hell, you can either live every single day trying not to go to hell, or you can live every single day loving God. There's a massive difference between the two. And to see that revelation click for so many, it was just like, that one video was worth it. And, you'd have like 20 videos after that that's like, man, no one cares. And then like there's like one video where people are like, you saved my life. Like, I didn't know Christ. I did not know the gospel. I've grown up in church for 30 years. I did not know the gospel. And to just sit back and go, Lord, you really can use a donkey. Like, you're using one right now. You are faithful. It was very humbling. And so I don't want to make it sound like TikTok was a disaster. It was miserable. I hated my life. It was like, no, it was so fruitful. But the enemy's going to jab you along the way. There are going to be thorns in your side. There's going to be temptations that you don't want to go through. And I think at the end of the day, TikTok was the seeds of YouTube. To go through TikTok, that was honestly the seed bed for what I'm doing now on YouTube. And so I don't at all think those months were wasted. They were overwhelming at times and stressful and confusing and took away from my family. And I had to learn how to prioritize, keep God first above serving him on social media. But I think learning to love God and make sure that's first while I'm serving him was a great revelation for me. Because I'm someone who gets so fascinated with the works of God that I forget to just love the presence of God. I was just like, I want to do, so much so that it was to the neglect of my own personal quiet time with him. And so, yeah, just to be aware of that for those of you that, if you want to be in social media and you're like, I want to be popular, I want to be famous in the name of Christ. Well, let me tell you something, Charlie. Like, watch your heart and make sure that you don't begin to prioritize serving God above knowing him. That's like my greatest, I think, insight for you as a content creator, whoever you are, you're watching. Prioritize knowing God above serving him, because you can't serve him without knowing him faithfully. It won't work out well. And so I've seen it.
Wow, dude, I'm like holding back tears out here, man, hearing these stories, dude. Praise God for that. And yeah, seriously, like, just so cool to hear, especially, you know, people on the brink of death, you know, people on the brink of taking their own life, and God's using you and your platform to give hope, to give life, to give Jesus and the hope of his glory. And so I'm just so grateful that that is something that you have been doing and that you're continuing to do. So yeah, just want to say thank you for doing that. And I'm sure that anyone hearing this will say thank you as well. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm just at a loss of words for those stories. So very, very cool. Yeah.
I was so busy at one point along this TikTok journey. I was so busy on focusing on all the followers I didn't have that I truly was neglecting the people that God had called me to shepherd through Instagram, through. And so don't get me wrong, for those of you that are watching, like, I'm not saying you can't shepherd people through social media. I'm saying it's hard through TikTok, so I had to like transition people over to Instagram or over to YouTube in order to effectively shepherd them, because TikTok isn't so much a shepherding application for me. Like, that social media platform isn't so good for shepherding. But man, I would let my DMs, it'd be like, there's 20 messages, I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be so focused on getting new followers. And then God convicted me, and it's like, hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Wow. It's like God showed me, like, you are not even being faithful with the few people who are DMing you. Like, they're longing for you to answer their question. They're dying for you to like help them understand something. And you're out here trying to make better content to reach more people. But even if I did get more people, I would still have that same heart with 1 million as I did with 100,000. So it wouldn't have mattered. All that matters is that I was faithful. I tried to be faithful with the 15 DMs I had. And sometimes that meant, you know, just forgetting about reaching new people. As weird as it sounds, like, you learn how to balance the two, discipleship and evangelism. And so for those of you that, again, you want to get into social media, you want to be creators for God, keep it, make sure you ask God to guard your heart in the sense that you are faithful with whoever he gives you. If it's one person that you bring to Christ, like, shepherd them, disciple them, train them, love them, care for them. I was not caring for people. I was caring about my name, to be honest. And it was, man, I just felt like the Pharisees when Jesus rebukes them over and over. Like, you were supposed to be caring for these Israelites, and you're stepping on their necks and taking from them and abusing and oppressing. And I wasn't doing that physically, but I thought in my heart I was. Like, I definitely was. Just seeing people as a resource to get more people. Seeing people as pedestals to get to higher places, instead of like getting down on my knees and washing their feet with the time God gave me. So, man, don't forsake what God has given you and be so obsessed with what you don't have. I think is one of the greatest things I learned through it too. Is, man, anything you have right now in your hands from God is grace. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's something that is infinitely beyond what we actually deserve. Steward that well. Not to get to higher places, but because he's worthy with a little or a lot.
Dang, man. So many nuggets of wisdom out here, bro. That's so good. I'm going to take that because, like, you know, you and I are both youth pastors as well. And it's just to hear that is a really good reminder of, you know, we might have 20, 30 kids in our youth group and hundreds of, I mean, for you, not me, but like for you, like hundreds of thousands of people also listening to you online. And it's just that also that reminder of, okay, I'm also like in these people's lives here in real life too. And so just, just to remember that there is more to it than the online and the getting the numbers and the growing and influence, but also like, how do I shepherd? How do I make sure, at least, like, if I'm not the one who's doing it, who's doing it? Like, if nobody's doing it, then maybe I'm missing the mark here. Maybe I'm missing the point. Because, if we're talking about discipleship, if you're talking about, hey, I want to see people get discipled, then there's gotta be that follow-up. There's got to be those conversations, those that take time. That one conversation could take an hour, whereas you can make 5 videos in that hour, So, so that's powerful word. I will take that home and chew on it. Yeah, that's so good, man. Well, dude, just kind of like closing up here, I want to hear maybe from you if there's like a last word that you'd give to people listening, or something that is on your heart that you'd want to share. And also, so I'm combining 2 things here, but also, like, are there people who you want, you want to hear more of their story? You want to hear more of like what they're doing and how God is using them on social media, as kind of like bringing out this social media revival. So what thoughts on those?
Yeah, I don't know a lot of social media Christian creator, celebrity-ish people. I follow a lot of pastors. But there is one YouTuber that I think, I'm a Bible nerd, and so I think he would be profitable to not just the audience, but maybe the journey that he's come through. He has like almost 200,000 followers on YouTube. And so Mike Winger is his name, if you've heard of him. BibleThinker.org, I think is his website, but his insight into the Bible is fantastic. A great resource, lovable guy, just genuine, caring, compassionate, kind heart. And so I think he'd be, to hear his journey and how he's come to where he is, while remaining humble with the 200,000 followers, subscribers, I think would be a super cool conversation to hear. The other question, which I'm trying to remember.
Something, any last words, anything that you want to leave off on your mind with our listeners?
Man, nothing that comes to mind. I'm sure, like, if you got me going, I would go off for a few hours, and it's probably good you don't. But, it doesn't matter who you are, wherever you're at in life. Social media is your thing, or it's not, or you just found this on accident. Like, I'm telling you, the gospel message of Jesus Christ is the entire foundation of our lives. I think a lot of people just want the greater, they want the deeper, they want the more, and yet all of those things like are extensions of the foundational. Like you want more fire, you want more passion, you want more love, you want more kindness, you want more forgiveness, like you want more mercy, and you want to see like miracles actually take place in your ministry and in your neighborhood. That starts with every day falling on your knees and like asking God for a deeper understanding, not of more things, but of what you already claim to know, and that's the gospel. And then from that, like just like, professionals, they master their craft by just mastering the fundamentals. Whether you're a basketball player, tennis player, you master the fundamentals, and from that, like you can do the more advanced stuff. And so I think that's been a great thing for me to keep going back to. The gospel, that Jesus Christ has really come in the flesh, that he's died and resurrected for our sins. That's not something I move away from. That's not something I grow up from. That's actually something I grow up into. And the deeper your revelation and understanding of who Jesus is in the gospel, of how great God's mercy and grace is in the gospel, like your love for people, your care for people, like the way that God will use you, all those things will just skyrocket. And so I just want to leave you with that, because I think the tendency is to, like me, on TikTok, social media, just to want more and never be content with the fact that, no, he's died and resurrected for me. That is enough. Like what Paul says in Philippians 3, like he counts it all as trash, everything, for the sake of knowing Christ. So apparently, like Jeremiah says, to be loved by God is better than life. The love of God is better than life. To know Christ is better than any possible thing this world and this life can give us. And to keep that the center. Because I'm telling you, the temptation for us, especially as, younger guys, is that I want more, and I'm not content with who God is in my life now. And when you grow content with who he is and what he's done for you now, like, he'll move you into farther places. Don't get me wrong. He'll advance you. You'll progress. Like, you'll make lots of progress throughout your journey. But at the same time, all of those things they hinge upon, like, loving him and being content with him now. And so, like, contentment is huge, man. The social media world, it's all about more. It's all about not enough. It's all about insufficient, need more. But, like, the gospel is he's enough, and anything else I do doesn't affect my contentment because it's rooted in Christ. And so to completely disconnect your influence, your popularity, your fame, disconnect that from who you are, disconnect that from your standing with God, disconnect that from your joy, your hope, and your contentment, because those things are rooted in someone who doesn't change. And that is the never-changing Almighty God, who, like, loves you. And so let the love of God dictate everything you do, not the opinions of people on social media. So,
hey, there it is. You gave it to us, man.
I gave it to you.
You did
sorry.
have something. Nah, that's what I was looking for. I love it. Such a good word to end on. Jason, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us those thoughts. And I think so many people can benefit from this. People who are content creator themselves, or people who are just listening to a genuine guy share about his journey in his faith and how God's using him. And so I appreciate you. I thank you for hopping on this call and telling us more about yourself. And dude, the best to you. And also just want to say thank you to our listeners and to our watchers. If you enjoy this, if you have any questions or thoughts, please just shoot us a message or write in the comments or let us know. Maybe one day we'll have Jason back to answer some of these questions that you have. And so there we go. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Social Media Revivalists.
Okay, when I was a kid, I was just young and naive.